I'm going to be using the Seestar S50 to take some videos of Jupiter and try out the new Planetary stacker and multiscale decomposition tools in Seti Astro Suite Pro. The Seestar S50 is not really designed for planetary imaging, but looking at the results that people are getting, I wanted to try it out. So I took 2 videos of Jupiter from my Seestar S50. The first video had low exposure and gain settings so that I could capture as much of the detail in Jupiter as possible. The second video was at a higher gain and exposure setting so that I could try and capture the moons. I'm going to combine these 2 images so that I can get as much detail of Jupiter as possible and still capture the moons in the image. Okay, so I'm going to open up Seti Astro Suite Pro. And I'm going to do a planetary stack. So under star stuff, planetary stacker, you see the interface here, and I'm going to start with the lower gain version of Jupiter. And I found that the best results were when I put the specific Bayer pattern on, GRBG, and keep it on planetary and click open stacker. So I leave all these as default and just go ahead and click Analyze. This is a pretty fast process, and it's just going through and getting all of the images from the video file and doing an analysis to see which ones have the highest quality and how to stack it. Looks like there's about 9,670 total images out of this video, and we're just going to keep the top 20%. So it's done, and it shows us here that the top 20% is well above the median. And I'm just going to go ahead and keep all the defaults and click stack. It's going to keep 1,934 images, and this is the final result. And here you can see the final stack. And we're going to use the multiscale decomposition tool to see if we can get more detail out of this image. So I just looked at the tutorial from Seti Astro, and I'm following those guidelines. So setting the layers to 8, and then because this image is so small, most of the details in layer 1. So I've only been, for Jupiter, for such a small image, I've only been increasing this. And usually the first pass I do it to about a gain of 3. And you can see already that it's starting to pull out the details. So I'm sending that to a new document, mostly just to compare the results. And I'll just pull this so it's the same size. You can see from here to here, it's already starting to be more detail. I'm going to go ahead and do another pass at this and take the one that we already increased the gain on and do another pass at 3. You see even more detail. So I'm going to send that to another new document. Make the view about the same size. You can see here it's starting to pull out more and more detail. Do one final pass. And I'm going to move the gain to about 2 for this final one. Not too much. Don't want to make it too, I don't want to make it too difficult to see. And go ahead. So here you can see the difference as we apply the multiscale decomposition. It's amazing the amount of detail it's pulling out of the image. And this is the one that I'm going to save. So I'm going to just save this as Jupiter. I'm going to save it as a TIFF file that I'm going to open up in Gimp. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the higher gain moons image. So I'm going to go to Planetary stacker. I'm going to open up the version that has the higher gain GRBG and go ahead and click open stack and do an analyze. Here we see it's much faster. I'm just going to apply the defaults. Since this is already a higher gain, I'm only going to do a few of the multi-scale decomposition. So go ahead and start that. Change the layers to 8. And for this first pass, I'll just do it to 3. Start to pull out those moons. Save that to a new document. We can compare them here. You can see that the moons are coming out a little bit, and I'll do one final version, and I'm just going to move this to 2. I want it too bright since they're the moons. And you can see here that it's increased, pulled out detail in the moons. So this is the one we're going to keep. I'm just going to save this one as Jupiter moons and put it on a TIFF file. All right, so now we have our 2 images. I'm going to go into Gimp and see if I can combine them. All right, I'm opening up Gimp and going to try and combine these 2 images. So first thing I'm going to do is open up the Jupiter moons. You can see them here. I'm going to put that to 200% so that I can kind of see what we're working with. Then I'm going to add the Jupiter as a layer, open as layer, and you see that it pops up here on the top as a layer. So I want to make sure that the scaling is the same. So it's basically the same. It's a little off just because of the gain. So I'm going to set the opacity to like 20 so you can kind of see the moons underneath, and do the move tool and move the layer until it overlaps so that the moons are overlapping. So just a slight difference, but now that they're overlapping, we can pull the moons to the top layer. So if I right click on the Jupiter layer and do add layer mask and just select white full opacity, I can pull the moons from the second layer to the top layer. So I'm just going to click on the airbrush tool. I just have it set to a square pixel, size 8. And I'm just going to, while the first layer is selected over the mask, I'm just going to click over the moons, and that will apply the mask and bring them from the second layer to the top layer. And so now the moons from the second image are put onto the Jupiter image. Now that that's applied, I did notice that there's some discoloration of the black around the moons and Jupiter. So I'm going to create another layer from visible. And I'm going to go to color, curves, and I'm going to lower the black point on the image to make it match kind of the darker black around the planet and the moons. I'm going to go ahead and click OK there and set this back to 100%. So that's the image with the moons from the higher gain video, Jupiter. And one common thing with the Seestar is it will actually flip the image when it's doing the raw video. So I'm going to go to Image, Transform, and Rotate 180. So that's going to be the more accurate orientation for the image. And that I'm going to just export it as Jupiter final and save it as a PNG file. So now in our the Jupiter final. So here's the final image from the Seestar from the two videos, each stacked separately, one for the planet, one for the moons, and then combined in Gimp. And I think it looks pretty great coming from the Seestar.